You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Welcome everybody to the Four Corners from the Official Wrestling Museum. We are your hosts. I am Angel. This is the Official Wrestling Museum Hall of Famer,
No Life.
and we are here and we are kicking it off, going forward today. Tell them what it's all about.
So the Four Corners is, each corner is going to have our selection on a certain subject. We can only have four of them. You can't have that fifth. You know, most people want to pick a top five.
We
There's
make
only
it
four
hard.
corners, so makes
Yep.
it a little more difficult. And this week we are doing title belts. And this is basically, it's not a pick of the representation of the title, who held it, what it meant. It's just solely on the design. And this is also, these decisions are our own personal, like we've done tag teams in the last episode.
Yep.
And that was, again, not based on the money drawing or working. It was our own guilty, what we have enjoyed. And as far as the title belts, it's what we've enjoyed. And this spans whatever company, whatever. You know, it could be Tony's gas station wrestling company down
Yeah.
the street. He has a great belt. So,
But this is great because this is a type of show that you can have in your own living room. With your own family and friends over. Oh, this is what I like. And it's just, so this is educational, but it's
Yeah.
something you can relate to.
and we invite everyone to write in their own Mount Rushmores of
Yeah.
these of our subjects. I mean, we enjoy, or even commenting on them. We enjoy reading them. It sparks up great conversation. I can't tell you how many emails we got where people sent in their own list of tag teams and responding to them.
One thing that the
spent almost a
museum-
whole day doing it.
Yeah. One thing that the museum is doing is we're building our YouTube page
Yeah.
as like a network. And on the actual website itself, we're going to have a link to our page, which we already do, but they're going to build it up more. And what it's also going to tell you is what's coming up in future episodes too. So that whole writing stuff will be a lot easier for you guys. And we want you guys to get more involved with the shows because we appreciate you guys. We honestly do. So getting in, we kind of do this show a couple of different ways, you know, depending on how much time we have. So we're gonna play it by ear and see how it goes.
Still getting the
The
still
kinks
getting the
out.
kinks out.
Yeah,
you know, so to
this
speak.
is week
Yeah.
3 that we're doing this show.
3? Is it 3?
Yeah, because your tag partner did guest appearances on 2. He's on the road for the museum this week. So salutes to you, and make sure you stop at stop signs. And yeah.
All right.
That was good. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I know that
Good
was
catch.
Right.
Mr.
That never
Perfect
happened
style.
again.
Mr. Perfect style.
Oh, so let's kick it off. So, if you're thinking title belts,
Yeah.
what would be your main one that you say yes has to be on my list?
Do you want me to go first?
I
or-
want you to go first.
All right. So for me, I mean, the way you just put it, I'm going to give an answer that might not be that right answer.
Oh, okay.
No, but it is.
Mostly-
But to me, it is.
Okay.
To me, it is. So the way you put it, you would want to pick maybe the heavyweight title of a company. For me, my favorite, I'm going to go with, last time I didn't pick in order, I'm going to go with my favorite title. And some titles now might be, like, for example, the title I'm going to pick, it's not used now, but they've reused it, and it wasn't the same. My favorite title of all time, look-wise, is the WWF Intercontinental title, the one Macho Man held.
Yep.
It had the red WWF logo at the top.
Yep.
Like, it was later used with a white strap, a blue. When Warrior had it changed, they used it most recently with a white strap.
Yep.
But the one I'm talking specifically, Macho Man had it, and the red WWF logo, because for some reason that red WWF logo just stuck out a little and made
Yes.
it made it seem more, I don't know, Regal. I don't know what word to use.
So for me, I was gonna say my first one was the Classic Intercontinental title.
It's such a great belt.
I never thought of the red part of the logo, like you just brought out,
Yeah.
because it made it stick out. It made it feel that it was more. It was just something with that belt that gave you that feeling that that is a champion that's going to grow. That
Yeah.
look of that title. It fit
Right.
every person it was on perfectly. It looked great around everybody's waist.
That's the thing too with deciding these belts. Like there might be some belts that are real nice looking, but maybe didn't look great on people.
Exactly.
And that Intercontinental title, like that looked great on everyone. I think that ever held it for the most
Yeah.
part.
I don't think anybody
It
ever
almost
looked
was
back.
like. It almost was like, all right, we got to do a test shot and see how this belt looks on this guy. Maybe the only one that it didn't look great on would be I was gonna say Diesel, but Diesel didn't usually wear it. He carried it. So
Yeah, but it didn't even look bad with him either.
right. No, that's what I mean. Is it?
And think about it, this is a title belt that was put on Rick Rude's tights.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so if it was good enough to put on his tights, it had to be good enough. You know what I mean?
And like I said, they've since reused it. A lot of people were like, oh, I love it, I love it. To me, it never had the same feel. It doesn't look great. When Warrior had it on different colored straps, it made sense for him.
Right.
But that original, like I said, even the color of the actual title itself kind of changed to a more silvery.
It did. I didn't mind it when they came back though, and they had the white title. You know, Cody, Miz, they really did a good job
Yeah.
building that history, because for a very long time the Intercontinental title was nothing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
So they did a great job rebuilding the history. But that title itself was just
So was that also on your?
yeah. That was my first one I was gonna say.
Okay. Do you? Well, I'll let you pick a
All right,
second
so
one.
the
We
second
might
one,
have, and
I
we
think
might have.
yeah,
some-
I think we're gonna go.
Yeah.
You know, my next one is the Winged Eagle title.
So for me, I was gonna pick that first, possibly. I think I have to go over my list here again in my head. Winged Eagle, if it's not on my list, it's definitely like first or second honorable mention. I
Yeah.
think when you talk about heavyweight titles with WWF anyway, I think for us that belt is it was our childhood. It
was,
It was. I think, and it's such. You know, as you look over it in the past, you might have been like, once they started getting the other belts, the Winged Eagle. But I just think, I mean, such a classic look.
Yep.
I mean,
To me, I remember the pieces I wrapped around. I used to think that was the ropes being
Oh, yeah.
bursted through with the logo and everything going through it.
Now, when
Like,
you,
I don't know
when
why.
when you said name the definitive title, in my head, that was in my head.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's not on my list,
Is it
it's
mentioned?
right there.
Okay.
We'll see, because I might want to take that opportunity to throw in. So I think, you know, we've talked about like trying to take our two Mount Rushmore, our two
Yes.
corners, as we should say,
Yep.
our corners, and
merge them together.
Yeah, and I think Intercontinental title is
Yeah.
already won.
Yeah.
It seems like the Winged Eagle,
It
even if it's
seems
not
like
on
it.
my list. It's all right. So I'll
Yeah.
go with another one. I totally loved the NWA television title, the red one.
Okay.
That actually you hold a replica of
I
it.
do
you know?
know that. Yeah.
But I loved it. Silver title. You know, I love that some belts aren't gold, and this one it was silver, but it had a red paint on
Yep.
the belt. The strap was red, and then the title, the side plates had like CBS, ABC,
Yep.
and you know, I think most synonymous with probably either Tully or Arn Anderson.
Yep.
But yeah, that to me was one. It was different, and it always stuck out. It was a very, very nice looking belt. And a lot of these belts back in the day, they had a very similar design to Hogan's like 83, or not, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, not 83, like his 84 title belt before the Winged Eagle. Same shape.
Same shape.
Yeah.
Yep. You said TV. Now this isn't one on my list. This is an honorable mention. The WCW TV title.
That was
But something
like 97.
Yeah.
That
something
also was
about that
yeah.
title just always caught my
Yeah.
my like. It probably, if we were picking five, that would be my fifth.
Okay, that for me, I would say, like, if I'm coming up with honorable mentions, that title I thought it was a really nice one
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
And I love the fact that they actually did what that title was for and put it on TV every
And I
week.
loved, so I know like people will say maybe the best TV title champ might have been Arn Anderson. With that era of that title, for me, was Regal, Steven Regal.
Yeah.
because they used to, and another thing too with the title belts. Again, we're not going over reasons
Right.
and stuff, but at the time, it's like I hate when say like a Canadian guy is the American champ, U.S. champ or something, unless they're playing into a gimmick.
Right.
Regal was the TV champ, and they used to say, well, he has no interest in the U.S. title. He doesn't want the heavyweight title because of what the NWO has done with it. He is focusing on this TV title, and to him, it's the most important title because it's what's on TV.
And that's what sold
Yeah.
the titles. Yep.
All right, so what do you got for? We got
so
the
yeah,
IC. I got the
IC.
TV. You got the Winged Eagle.
Yep.
All right.
I'm gonna go with the late '80s tag team titles for WWF.
Now you're talking about like Demolition held.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Those belts, the
Yeah.
square look was just like you never really seen a square look at
Right.
all, and it was just something that was like, wow, you want to see it again, and boom, there it was again because it was a tag team, and it's just, I don't think any tag team title since then has even came close
Right.
to what that belt looks like.
No, the belts now look like pennies. Also, you said the late 80s. Now, I know they used that title all the way up until the Attitude Era, but there was a difference also. How we talked about that IC title,
Yeah.
the WWF, the tag team title of the 80s, had a silvery kind of look to
Yep.
it, and it had gold on it too.
Right.
But it had silver in it too. And later on down the line, it was just gold. And I think that era of like when the Hart Foundation had it, the Dream Team, Demolition, then it changed. But that belt, again, I'm trying to think of what's on my list and what's honorable mention. That's up there. So, I mean, if we're talking about our four corners.
Yeah, this
I
is
think
tough.
It's funny because right now, I think we would have the IC title,
Yep.
the Winged Eagle,
Yep.
and the tag team,
Yep.
all from
The
the
same
80s of
generation, yeah.
WWF. And
Yep.
I think that I'm not surprised that is because that hits our sweet spot.
Yeah,
You know?
it really does.
Now I'm going to go a little different on this one. So again, I'm not saying those were on my list yet, but even if they're not on my list, I'm perfectly fine with them being in one of the corners.
All right.
Now this one is not. A lot of people might not even know it, but I absolutely love the UWF title. Not the Herb Abrams UWF, which if you've watched like Dark Side of the Ring, which people would have seen it there. UWF, which was owned by Bill Watts. Dr. Dusty Williams had it. Now, do you know that title? Now,
do know that title.
Ring of Honor kind of copied it when they made their first Ring of Honor title. It was a basic title. It had UWF in red. I don't know. There's just something about it. It looked to me like a championship belt. It was big as far as like it looked thick. It looked like if you hit someone with it,
Yeah.
they're getting laid out. So for me,
Okay.
again, for me, it's on there.
Okay. So I would say my last of my four was the WCW Cruiserweight title.
That is a nice one.
It was definitely thought differently. It gave you that feeling that somebody that wasn't so big could make it
Yeah.
and be a champion. I loved the way the WCW was so big on the sides. It really like brought, the attention to the company. It wasn't so small, but it wasn't too big. I think it was just perfect where it needed to really
Yeah.
be. I really do.
Right. It had a different look than, say, the heavyweight championship title. The other titles looked more basic as far as the decor went. That one stuck out. I do think that it didn't make my list, but definitely like when you think of that title, you think of like Malenko and
Yeah.
Mysterio. I mean, and Malenko looked so good with that belt. Like, I definitely do like that belt. So this would be. So I said.
You said this, yeah.
Yeah, so if this is my fourth, it was tough. Again, this is what's tough about getting that last corner in there.
Yeah.
I had like 3 or 4 belts that I'm like, which one is it going to be? And I don't know yet. I'm still thinking,
He's still
which
thinking.
one is it?
Do you need a little more time?
No, I think also when you talked about definitive belts, and we both were thinking the same thing, the Winged Eagle, I think maybe even more so when you think of a definitive championship belt. Yes, the Winged Eagle is there, and I think you might know where I'm going.
I think so too.
The big gold.
Yep,
It's the one that Ric Flair held. WWF brought it back.
Yeah.
It was so big it was like that. Winged Eagle always had a cool look, but to
Right.
me at the time when I was talking about the Winged Eagle, I said, you might look back and go, I didn't really like it. That's because the big gold was
So much more.
Yeah. And now that I go back, it was like, okay, you got this big gold belt and the Winged Eagle. The big gold was so much bigger. That's what made you think of the champion.
And I remember too, like everybody's like the NWA title, 10 pounds, gold.
Which is
And it
honorable mention for me, by
Yes,
the
and
way.
it's a great title. But to me, that world heavyweight
Yeah.
title was the title belt. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I took that belt as you're a champion of wrestling, in the Winged Eagle, you were the champion of WWE.
So I was,
you know what I mean?
when I was saying I had a couple belts on, couldn't decide which, what do they call that? The domed globe or something for the NWA title? All these
Oh,
belts
yeah,
have
yeah,
names now. That was one of the ones, but I think if that one just was bigger, I think it would have made the list. I think with certain belts, some of them can be big and gaudy, but that big gold. And remember, I mean, when a belt is synonymous with someone, or the belt is over just on its looks, is like, for example, when Flair came to WWF and they just brought the belt out. This is the belt of the real world champion. You saw that belt, you immediately knew who was the champ, but that belt was so different looking than the Winged Eagle at the time. So for me,
But
I
even
gotta
the
I gotta put the big gold on there.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good one for sure. I will also say, too, the women's title that Alinda Blaze had that she threw in the trash. I like that
Yeah.
title. I like that title because it wasn't so small.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it looked like they put some Miracle-Gro
And
on
it had
it.
a pink
Yeah.
background, right?
And I
Or
think
was it white? Pink or white?
it was white, the belt, but it did have some, like, a shade of pink into it. I think, wow, this table's bouncing today. I think I liked the title because it wasn't so small, because all the women's titles were so tiny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Over the
And
years, even
back in
now.
the day, like if you're looking at the early 1900s when it was title belts for guys, they were very tiny.
Yeah.
So I think what they did was they're like, all right, well, these were the original titles, what they looked like. Let's mimic them for the females, because now we're giving them titles. And okay, well, let's not give them anything too heavy.
That's the thing with
You
like
know what I mean?
when AEW started up and they did the women's title,
Yeah.
the very first one, I was like, man, it's so small. And even when you buy the figures, it's so tiny.
Yeah.
Is that on your list, or you just mentioned?
Just mention. That's an
All right.
honorable mention.
So I think you have a
Yeah.
fourth now.
I
I
think we did our fourth. So
Okay.
I think
You did four?
Yeah, I did four.
All right, what were your four now?
So it was the
Recap
Classic
them.
Enter, it was the One Eagle, the Classic Tag, and the Cruiserweight. for
Okay.
WCW.
And I did the Intercontinental.
Yep.
I went with Winged Eagle.
Yep.
I said the UWF title and the Big Gold. So we got three of them already. We know it's the.
We know.
If we're gonna take our two rings.
Yeah.
And we're gonna
Put 'em
build one.
together.
Yeah, we're gonna build one ring. What four corners are we gonna use? We're gonna use the Classic Intercontinental.
Absolutely.
The
Winged
Winged Eagle.
Eagle, yep.
And the WWF Tag Team titles. Which
Tough.
had they had another title at the time, we probably
It
would've-
probably would have been.
Now, so if we're gonna take now, and remember, I didn't even have the tag team titles or the Winged Eagle. Did I have them on my list? I don't
Well,
know.
you said the Winged Eagle, you
Yeah.
were possibly, and then you started talking
The
about
tag teams weren't on my list,
Yeah.
but they should be.
Yeah.
For being a tag team guy.
right?
But
And your tag team belts would mimic
Yeah.
off that title.
so we just got to pick a fourth corner.
You know, I honestly, I wouldn't mind having that world title.
The big gold.
The big gold.
I think it has to be.
It has to be.
When
you're
I
talking about
said it, I
titles,
was
it's
like,
gotta
that's
be.
probably going to be the fourth.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was pretty easy. We have pretty much.
That was.
I think. I mean, we have
got some time.
Good amount of
You know
time
what?
for some
I'm gonna-
honorable mentions.
I'm going to say I was not a fan of belts being destroyed, but the hardcore title really grew on me over time.
Do you remember the rumor? So you said you're not a fan. So really, the only two times I can think of belts being destroyed that I liked, very early on when Backlund's title was destroyed.
Okay,
way
yeah.
back in the day, yeah. And he flipped out over it. No, he flipped out over
Yes,
it.
yeah.
And when Mr. Perfect broke up Hogan's belt.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then the rumor was that the hardcore title, because WWF never throws anything away, it all goes in that storage, that warehouse, which
Yeah.
I would love to tour.
Right, me
you
too.
know? But the rumor was that title. It wasn't, but I mean, it's fun to think that it was.
Right.
But the hardcore title, for what it was, at the time they had switched the belt over, the heavyweight title, and it was the old Winged Eagle. It was. The original hardcore title was cool. If you're talking about belts, I want to say maybe we can name a couple we don't like.
Okay.
And for me,
All right.
the one I despise the most is the WWE United States title, the one that came back that he who shall not be named won, Orlando Jordan, Booker T,
Yeah.
Cena. Well, Cena did his own thing with the spinners, which
Yep.
is a whole nother thing. But I just did not like that belt. It always felt to me like an independent kid's toy.
Okay.
That one I hate more than any title in wrestling.
I didn't like the belts that were just for the workers, like the Smoking Skull. Now I like the Smoking Skull belt. I
Yeah.
like the look. I just didn't like the fact that he had his own personal
Right.
belt.
And
You
the
know,
Rock
we
had
rated
one that they
out-
never really
yeah,
used.
They didn't.
Yeah.
But,
Did you like the spinner title though?
so
I mean, I know he used it for him, but then it ended up sticking around.
that they stuck
way too
around.
long.
Yeah, it really did. To keep it spinning, I don't know. I guess it kind of grew on me.
It was
'cause
a thing
it's-
for that time because 50 Cent with the spin and chain.
Yeah.
But that quickly went out, and it's like they kept that belt for so long.
Yep.
But I felt like at the time that would have been, as you said, Cena's own personal title. Now I know that they're doing a lot of replica titles of. I mean, I guess there's a big group of people that collect titles.
Yes.
And now they're doing, I don't know if you've ever seen like the shops and all that. They have all these special titles. They're doing like this title or that title for
Yeah,
this guy.
yeah.
And to me, honestly, a lot of them, they don't hit well. I don't think
No,
they look cool.
I like the New Day one. I think that was pretty cool.
I think
but
there was
other
an
than that,
Undertaker one. I
Shawn was all right. I wasn't a fan of the Bret Hart one, and I'm huge on Bret Hart.
Yeah.
I think those belts are just money hungry.
Another belt that I really did not like was the WCW hardcore title. Now you said hardcore title on
Yeah,
WWF.
I didn't like that.
Here's a
one.
question. This one I have a lot of conversations with people about. WWE's ECW title, the silver gold that
Okay.
Mark Henry held. Did you like that one? I really liked it. I thought it was a very pretty
So,
handsome belt.
I'm glad
but
you brought this
not-
up, 'cause I
not
wanted
for
to bring
ECW
something up.
though. You know.
Right. I wanted to bring something up when you were talking about the tag team titles, how it had the gold and silver in it.
Yeah.
That we talked about. And what I liked about that, and that helped me back then, it was that these guys are champions, but they're not champions. Not selling what they did short, but they're tag teams. If you want to become the top guy, you have to do the Intercontinental title, you have to do the Win Eagle title. You know what I mean? So to me, it was like, okay, we're tag champs, we're silver gold, we're getting ready to get into that first place material. You know what I mean? So when you talk about this title for ECW, I kind of felt like right off the bat, it was like, all right, well, you're second to WWE. That's how I took it.
And that's how I
You
think
know what I mean?
I think that's kind of how it should kind of be too. You can only have one. It's
Right.
That's the thing. There's so many title belts nowadays. I mean, like AEW has like 18 champions.
Yeah.
And not to sell them short. I love the
you know what-
AEW title. I know it's based off of in Japan. That's the thing too, is I like when companies take a belt and they kind of in a way copy it, honor it.
Yeah.
I wanted to say real quick too, because this one was honorable mention. When I just said they kind of take a belt and kind of style it after it, the WCW US title around the 97, 98 era, I felt, look, DDP held, Booker
Yeah,
T.
yep.
I felt
I like
looked
that
very
one.
much like the Intercontinental title.
Yep.
I liked it a lot, but I also think that every US title that WCW had, there was one Luger had earlier on.
Yep.
I think they've always looked nice. And I think you might have said this too. Was it you or Stryker? And I believe it might have been you. You love the fact of a U.S. title. Was that
Yeah.
you? Yeah, I think it's perfect. Like
I think
you get the
I
world
think Stryker
champion
said it
and the
too,
U.S.
To
champion.
be honest with you, I think he said it too. But yeah,
Okay.
I definitely like the fact of the United States champion. I didn't mind the European title.
I thought it had a nice look.
I think so,
thought
too.
the
I think
idea
the
of it,
era
as
was-
again, we're not talking about ideas, but
Right.
I thought the idea of it was kind of, they did it while they were over there, and it's like, okay, we haven't gone back, they haven't gone back there.
Yeah, and what are you gonna do
I
with
do
it?
like the look of it, and I think on Regal, it looked perfect.
Yep.
Bulldog, it looked great too. That was one of
Absolutely.
those belts that,
Had to
because of
fit
its
the
design,
certain gimmick.
yeah.
Yes. I will tell you what I'm not a fan of is when they had the Undisputed title and the WWE title, or your women's champions, and they're the exact same belts,
Yeah.
just with a different strap.
I
I think
mean,
that is, you are a
yeah.
multi-billion-dollar company, and you can't come up with a different design.
I don't like the belts to begin with. Those are some of those belts I think are ugly, but I understand why they do it. They want that logo front and center.
Yep.
And so now, as we said, all the top champions, all the other champions don't have that. They have whatever they have. Those ones have that WWE logo. They all look the same.
Yep.
That's what it's about. It's not about, I mean, they put the side plates on, but it's not about the guy who has it or
Yep.
the woman that has it. It's the company. And then they use that for like when a team wins the championship in this sport or that sport. they send them the title.
Yep.
And then they're in the parade and they're holding the belt up. And of course, what's the belt got? The WWE logo. Now they do, what do you think about, this is kind of, it's on topic because it's titles.
Yeah.
What do you think about the belts they've made for baseball and football? I think
So-
it's a cool idea.
I think
I think it's going to be a moneymaker.
well, that's the thing. It gets right down to being money hungry
Yeah.
with those belts. However, I do like the idea because they've been sending sports teams, whoever wins,
Yeah.
a title belt for years and years and years and years now. I think that was the smartest move they ever did.
Right. As
You
I
know
just
what mean?
said, like when they're in
and
the
now
parade-
they're putting
Yeah.
the belts out there.
Now
the
you can send them
teams-
two. You send them the team one,
Yep.
and you send them the one with the WWE logo.
And it's really not
Yeah.
costing them anything to
Right.
make these. You know what I mean? They make them their own selves. Like it,
Yeah.
I will say another title I was not a fan of is the 24/7 title because it came
thank
off
you.
of the, even though our truth is the longest, biggest run, it was 59 titles.
champions, right?
Yep.
I think that belt is so ugly.
But
it was
it
so
was
plain.
off of the one from Braun Strowman that he won.
Oh,
in Saudi
the Royal
Arabia.
Rumble?
Yeah, which I have no idea why they gave him a title belt. What was the purpose behind the title belt? They didn't even show the title belt on the screen. It looked like it was an unfinished belt, and then they're like, okay, let's do something with it.
24/7?
Yeah.
Well,
then it's
speaking
like,
of-
all right,
yeah.
here's the 24/7 title now.
Speaking of unfinished belts, you know, I know when AEW did the TNT title, when they first unveiled that, that was unfinished. And
Yes.
I can't remember if Cody was the first and everyone was just knocking it, but it wasn't done. But at the same time, it's like you knew that you were going to unveil this belt. Why would you put an unfinished belt?
Yeah,
and
I
I
don't-
think I think AEW, we didn't talk about that much. I really like, again, they have 48 belts. I really like their titles.
Yeah, you know what? To say that, I will agree. I think a lot of their titles, there's a lot of details, stonework.
Yeah.
That catches that classic, kind of like a Super Bowl ring type of image to it. So it definitely brings a different twist. I know we're running short on time, and I know it wasn't really a title belt that was defended. It was only defended once, and it changed hands. But the Ted DiBiase $1 Million title.
Oh, that's
it's a gimmick belt, but I actually love the look of it. I think it was perfect. It was perfect for the storyline.
Yeah.
Oh no, and they gave it to
Virgil had it.
Grims. He had
Oh,
it too.
Grimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a belt, you know. I know, like you said, not necessarily
A title
belt,
but-
but yeah.
So-
I mean, and I will say, I want to just say,
Yeah, of
it's
course.
not
Yeah,
real
yeah.
quick. It is not wrestling, but it's UFC. I really like. I mean, I think that's where WWF took their idea for the WWE logo on the belt. UFC, you look at their belts, and it's UFC. The logo's planted right there. Then they changed it into all the belts now look like an octagon, and I
Yeah.
think they very look like also like remember Ringside not
Yes.
Wrestling Figures Inc.
Yeah.
You could get like that one belt they had that was like
a generic
every
belt.
independent had it.
Yep.
And yeah, so that the new UFC ones I don't like.
So, on that note, those were our four. We had the Big Gold, the Win Eagle, the Classic Intercontinental, and the Classic Tag Team
Real
titles.
quick, if you had to pick one out of all that, what are you going with?
Intercontinental.
Yeah, me too. All right.
Yep, it had to be Intercontinental, man. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully, we said something that you liked. If we said something that you didn't like, let us know. Let us know what you think
we
about
might
the
have missed-
belts.
we might have missed
You know what I
one of
mean?
your
We
favorites.
want that interaction. Check out Off the Ropes this week. We talk about the newest inductees into the class of 2024's Official Wrestling Museum Hall of Fame that just went in past WrestleMania weekend. Free reviews kicking it old school with me, him, and his tag team partner for part one. We are filming part two. I think they told us it will be about another week or two. We'll be in the studios again to film it. And so we talked a little long. Oops.
Us talk too long?
Yeah, never. And the hot tags, make sure you send all your questions in because without you, we can't do that show. And well, we have fun doing this. And if you don't have questions here to do it, they yell at us back there. Like those guys over there that don't want to be on cameras right now, they yell. They get very vicious. I try to give them like M&Ms and stuff to calm them down, but it doesn't work. They look at them and they say they're WW. They don't realize they have to flip them around. And check out Vegas R Us. We talk about classic trading cards and you know where to go with that. So thank you guys very much. Make sure you check out the officialwrestlingmuseum.com. Make sure you take our Smile Up Challenge. Spend more smiles than hate in the world. You can do it. We believe in you. If you know of any community events going on, please let us know. We'll love to be a part of it. We're not asking anything. Just let us know about it. And you know what they say?
We don't have a close for this show. Yeah.
See you next time at the Four Corners.
Oh, there we go.